We interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast.
Boom! Headshot!
Hey, it's Clay. Welcome to another League of Legends video. This is a Why Buy featuring Vladimir. He is the closest thing that we have to a... well, I can't even think of it right now. A vampire in League of Legends. Wow. Total failure right there. His whole theme and kit is centered around him being this sort of vampiric character. He's the Crimson Reaper. He's got crazy long fingernails, like super eerie. You know, not these three things, but these fingernails are just crazy. As you can see, I step on a niddly trap right there. Yeah, so Vlad, let's kind of talk about him. He is an AP carry. I would say his closest comparison would maybe be someone like Ryze, someone who can scale, has a relatively weak early game, but then can become quite strong, and can be a very, very strong late game carry. And he's also, comparison to Ryze, I think is fair just because he he has the ability to be tanky and also deal damage in the same respect. So that's one of his highest upsides. He also, in true to form, being a very vampiric type character, he's very strong. I believe it's Spell Vamp, not Lifesteal, but Spell Vamp is one of his most core. You know, the ability to heal up while doing damage. You know, once you get him going, once he gets some levels and some items, he becomes absolutely immovable in lane just because of his ability set and his itemization. Is just very, very keen to that sort of very sustained type of playstyle. But overall, quite a fun champion to play. I actually bought him on a bit of a whim. Never really was keenly interested on him, but I bought him nonetheless, and gonna go ahead and give him a try. And I've really enjoyed his playstyle. I play him generally in the top lane, although he can also go in the mid lane. He's more of a tankier mage then if you do decide to go mid lane with him. Definitely also more of a sustained damage dealing mage rather than a burst caster. So something to just be aware of. You know, similar to like the Karthuses or the Ryzes or the Cassiopeias of the world, rather than like an Annie or a Lux. You know, champions who have these long cooldowns and then get out a ton of damage in 2 seconds. That is not Vlad. Very much more of a sustained damage champion. So let's go ahead and talk about his abilities and everything that has to do with Vlad. As you see, I'm laning against Nidalee here. This was actually a game I played with a friend of mine, God of Pop-Tarts, playing as Tristana in the bot lane. Let's go ahead, give him a shout out right here. Playing against an Caitlyn Blitzcrank, which would not be a very fun lane at all. But anyways, as I lane against this Nidalee, let's talk about his abilities. His passive, Crimson Pact. This is... I mean, I don't know all the passives or abilities in the game, but this has to be one of the most gold-efficient abilities or passives in the entire League of Legends game. I mean, this, just what it can give you in terms of statistics is absolutely absurd. But basically, the idea is that if you build health, you gain ability power, and if you build ability power, you gain health. So if you build a death cap, not only do you get the flat AP boost, but you will translate that into health. And I believe that it goes on a ratio of 2.5% bonus health becomes ability power, and then 140% of ability power becomes health. So you can see Master D's coming in for a gank on this Nidalee. I believe she's going to potentially get away. Not quite enough red buff auto attacks there for the slow. But anyways, this Crimson Pact passive is actually, to be completely honest, one of my favorite things about his kit. It is like this is the primary reason why he's capable of being tanky and a damage dealer, kind of in vein of Ryze, is because he builds pretty much, you build, you know, a spell vamp item and then you go straight AP and then you get quite tanky. Just because of the I mean, you can almost get up to 800 or 900 health, no problem. As you can see, I dump a ward there accidentally while I'm trying to suck down a pot. Gotta throw that, have those pots in lanes, item slot number 1. That's where I always have them. But anyways, Crimson Pact is fantastic. Pretty much, like I said, the basic idea here is that you want to build flat AP, and then you will gain health. You can build health, and actually it makes certain items like a Haunting Guise or a Rylai's Crystal Scepter very, very strong on Vlad, because they allow him to kind of double whammy. You're getting health and AP, so you can, you know, kind of double take advantage of both of those. It does not stack with itself, but because those items give both health and AP, it makes them a natural choice. But I believe the most efficient way is to stack a ton of AP. There's actually an episode on LOL Math about which is more efficient. I believe the conclusion was you definitely want to stack AP because, well, first of all, you can get a lot higher AP values, and the AP also scales with its damage. But if you stack health, kind of the idea there is that you really aren't going to be doing much damage. You'll be tanky, but it just isn't kind of in the same respect. You definitely want to be stacking AP. So, Death Cap, Zonias, Void Staff, those are all very core items. Kind of the big AP items are all very, very nice. You just want lots of ability power, not because it only gives you a lot of damage, but because it gives you a lot of health. So very, very nice. I love this passive. This is one of the reasons why he is such a strong late game character, is because the more items he gets, the more gold efficient they become. I mean, he makes, you know, there's all sorts of statistics about when items are gold efficient. Well, you know, Vladimir really tends to push that to the limits. Every single item he gets becomes incredibly gold efficient because of this sort of transfer. So, very fantastic passive. One of my favorite things about Vladimir. Next up is his Q. This is his bread and butter skill, Transfusion. It has no cost associated with it, and is only cooldown restricted. Basically, it will deal ability magic damage, and it will also drain them and heal Vladimir. So it's kind of like a built-in spell vamp. Pretty moderate AP ratio at 60, fairly moderate base damage at 230 at level at max level 5. But the health regen is really, really nice. 15 up to 55 flat health plus a 25% AP ratio, which is quite nice on a self-heal. So, and the cooldown, it starts at 10 seconds, which is quite high, but then it goes down to 4 seconds at max rank. So you've got this ability. I mean, just think about this. You've got this ability that provides you a ton of sustain. It gives you a lot of free health, especially once you start to build both spell vamp and ability power. It just kind of compounds itself. At max rank, it's on a 4-second cooldown and has no cost associated to it. So there's, you know, basically once Vladimir hits level 9, he has absolutely infinite sustain. Once you get a Hex Tech, you hit level 9, you max this ability first, and you are an immovable rock. You can just spam this ability every 4 seconds. You can see I use it right there on that minion. So the idea with Vlad is that you want to max Q, you want to buy an early Hex Tech, and then you just want to go ahead and you can push, you can harass, you can do whatever you want, but avoid, oh, you can see I accidentally used my W, that was a fail. But you want to avoid all-ins, and you want to just focus on poke, harassment, and healing yourself through sustained damage with your Q. This is such a fantastic spell, and like I said, all of those things, I mean, it's just amazing. 60% AP ratio, fantastic sustain, built-in spell vamp on a 4-second cooldown with no cost. I mean, this is like just a money in the bank spell, and it's really what makes Vlad Vlad. So like I said, get that early Hex Tech and just start cranking out Qs. I pretty much tend to spam it on cooldown. You want to be a little bit more selective with it early on, just because it's pretty much your only source of damage. And so, early on, it's on a 10-second cooldown. It has relatively low base damage values, so you want to be a little bit more conservative, and you want to make sure you have it to heal up. But still, very strong ability. One thing to note about this ability is if you're watching, you see right there, I used it with the red kind of veins of blood come out of that minion and go to Vlad. The heal does not take effect until those little suctions of blood hit Vladimir back. So if you pool or Zonias before it returns, you're not actually going to get the healing from it. So that's something to keep in mind. But you can see on my first trip back, I picked up Spirit of the Spectral Wraith. It's probably the best spell vamp item in the game, as Will of the Ancients tends to be frowned upon, and it builds out of the early Hex Tech, which I actually just skipped and went straight to Spirit of the Spectral Wraith. So now, if you watch closely, any sort of trading that I do with Nidalee will just get totally healed back. I have rank 5 in my transfusion, so I have, at 3.28 seconds, I have 18% cooldown reduction, so every 3.28 seconds, I can heal up. The base level is about 70, and then, you know, I've got the 20%, I believe it is. Yeah, 20% spell vamp, so just absolutely insane. So you can see I'm just going to poke here, there's another Q, and all of a sudden I'm back at full health from those turret shots that I took. So, very, very good ability there. Next up is his W. This is his Sanguine Pool. If you've ever heard anyone reference the word Troll Pool, this is, there you can see using Q against really Troll Pool. This is reference to Vladimir's Sanguine Pool, not Brad, Vlad. But basically, Vladimir will become untargetable, and he will gain a little bit of a speed boost, and then he also has a damage over time, or just a damage ability for enemies that are standing in his pool, and they are also slowed. So this ability really does a lot for you. It's your main source of safety. This is probably why he's viable in the top lane, because it gives him a very strong source of safety. Specifically the part of it where you become untargetable. That's really what is most crucial about this ability. That if you can see us like a Nidalee Spear is a perfect example. If I see it coming at me and I know it's going to hit me huge, I can just pop my W. If I see a gank coming, like let's say a Moo throws out his Q, his bandage toss, you can just hit your W and you're going to be fine. That ability will go right through. You can see right there I'm throwing down my ultimate. I'm going to flash, throw out a Q, and am I going to get the kill? There's my first kill of the game. That was my ultimate. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the W, the untargetability is really, really fantastic. 1 second, or 2 seconds of untargetability is really, really nice. Bonus movement speed for 1 second is fantastic for escaping. And then enemies who stand in the pool are slowed for 1 second and are dealt damage. And Vladimir will actually heal off of that damage for 12.5% of the damage done. And the damage done actually scales, it has a flat amount, and then it also scales off of his bonus health. So again, this very much synchronizes very nicely with his passive, because, oh, you can see right here, wow, I should have really focused on that. I want to talk about this real quick. I actually decided to use my teleport. I took teleport this game. I think it's a fantastic choice on Vlad. And this was one of the best uses of teleport. Right here, actually, my teammate was pinging me. And I saw a lot of action is going on down here, so I decided to teleport right here onto this ward. And once I get into place there, I'm able to pick up a really nice kill onto my friend Blitzcrank. So a nice TP there to pick up a kill. Pretty easy. Anyways, the Sanguine Pool, it does damage, but I would say the biggest thing about this is the untargetability, the speed boost. It's just a fantastic defensive ability to keep you safe, safe from any sort of ganks. And you really want to hold on to it. You don't want to use it for farming. You want to make sure that you're using it almost exclusively for escaping. You can use it offensively for the slow, and also the speed boost, and it does also a little bit of extra damage as well when you really need it, but you don't want to use it for farming. You want to make sure that you save it for those moments when you really need it the most. It has a relatively high cooldown, and also costs 20% of current health. So again, fits in with that kind of vampiric nature where Vlad is a life stealer, but also a life taker. But overall, a very strong ability, and like I said, it's really his big safety net in lane. Next up is his E. This is his Tides of Blood. It's also costs health. It has a relatively short cooldown, 4.5 seconds. And basically, it's an AoE ability all in a circle around Vlad, and it will deal magic damage, and basically it has a very interesting stacking mechanic where it will stack up to 4 times, and it will have increased costs and increased damage. The base damage goes all the way at max rank 160 to up to 320 with 4 stacks. 45% AP ratio is relatively low, but with that base level of 320 is actually quite high. This isn't an untargetable ability. It just kind of does damage to everything within a circle of 610 units, which is fairly low range for a spell, about the range of a little bit longer than an 80 carries auto attack, which is usually at 550. That's kind of my benchmark. But the best thing about this ability is that it's AoE, so it really provides him some strong teamfight presence. You can see using my ulti there. Again, not quite going to pick up this kill on Nidalee. Very low. It provides him some really nice teamfight presence because it does nice AoE damage. And it also has really, really nice wave clear. This is one of the best choices. You can see I'm using it to just shove these minion waves, doing nice AoE damage to them. And like I said, once you get the Spirit of the Spectral Wraith and you get at least a Hex Tech for the Spell Vamp, you can pretty much sustain all that health cost, because the health cost will increase. But you can pretty much sustain it infinitely once you get a little bit of Spell Vamp. A nice bonus thing too is that it had synergized with his Q because it also provides increased healing and regeneration per stack, so up to 8%. So again, it synergizes very well with this idea that he's a Spell Vamp. Well, I don't understand why I keep forgetting this word. why am I forgetting this word, you guys? He's a vampire, very much akin to his vampiric nature. So basically, you want to use your E and then your Q followed afterwards, so you can take advantage of that increased spell vamp. But this is the ability that I like to max. Second, it's on a 4.5 second cooldown, and it matches very nicely with the 4 second cooldown of your Q. But basically, the EQ over and over again. Once you get some spell vamp, you just have no cost associated. See, I'm using this over again to just harass this Nidalee endlessly. EQ, EQ. Try to keep it at 4 stacks as much as you possibly can, especially if you know that an engagement is going to come up. You know you can easily heal back that health cost, but you want to keep it at 4 stacks, especially if you know you're going to be in a team fight, just because the base damage is so high. And if you see pro Vlad players, one thing you'll notice is that they do tend to spam that E. You know, they're watching the little taskbar there, and making sure that they're keeping it at 4 stacks. So you can see I'm using my flash and my W, and not quite able to pick up that kill. That's a little unfortunate. Well, next up is his ulti. I just use it there onto Nidalee. This is his Hemo Plague. It's a very interesting ability. Basically, it is a target ability. See, I get caught out here. I already used my pool, and I'm just going to dive. So very, very poor choice. I actually think that Master Yi strongly encouraged me to dive, which was a very poor choice. I should not have listened to him. And he's going to go ahead and let us down later in this game, which I will point out. But basically, the Emo Plague, it is an AoE in a circle. He throws it down, and it will infect all the enemies. And then for 5 seconds, they have 12% damage increase. So not like a damage reduction, but a damage increase from all of your teammates and all sources, actually. 12% increase for 5 seconds. And then at the end of those 5 seconds, they will take magic damage from Vlad with a flat amount of plus 70% of your ability power. It's 150 up to 350 flat damage. So very, very nice. This is what really I think what really brings Vlad's kit together, and it makes him a very strong team fighter. That you want to try to get this Hemo Plague off on as many enemies as you possibly can. For that 5 seconds of 12% increased damage is absolutely insane. And there's one specific team fight that I will be sure to point out this game, where it really shines. It really clearly shows how strong a good Hemo Plague can be. But you see, using my pool right there to dodge that spear just for the lulz, and we're gonna try getting a Q off. Gonna try to chase down this Nidalee, but she is a cougar and she's got a jump. But Diana not quite able to finish her off. I don't know. The ignite is ticking, and no, that's Trist in the bottom lane. I believe Nidalee is got 100 HP, so unfortunate right there. She's gonna stay with her own self-heal. But oh, there's Lee Sin. I thought he was here still here. Diana's going really deep. There's the Hemo Plague right there. Gonna pick up the Lee Sin and try to maybe get some enough Orianna. 5 seconds goes off and she does not die. So it's kind of like a Zed ulti in that, but it doesn't have the damage amplification, but kind of that delayed effect where it will explode after a period of time. But very nice. So basically the idea here is that it's not so strong right early when you get it, but it's very strong in team fights to allow your teammates to get that damage amplification. And if you are going to use it in lane, you want to really make sure you can get your full combo off after you throw it out. So throw it out early and then get your EQ, and then as many of those as you possibly can get off in a row, just because you want to make sure you get that amplification. So yeah, those are his kit. That's his kit. He is very I would say he's one of the best thematic characters in League of Legends. With that vampiric theme, you know, a very strong life stealer. He has extremely high spell vamp, extremely high sustain, and he is very much a sustained damage, a bit of a battle mage who has a bit of tankiness, but also has quite a bit of AP. So yeah, basically in lane, I would say he is very weak, kind of even before level, so kind of up till about almost level 9. You know, once you start to really get points into your Q, and once you get your spell vamp item, until that point you're relatively weak. You do relatively little damage, you have no hard CC, you don't even have any reliable CC because the only CC is the slow that comes from your W, which you need to save for ganks. So he has no CC, but basically you've got a ton of sustain, and if you can manage to prevent yourself from getting poked down, you're going to have a really good time. And you're just gonna, you can see right there, Master Yi disconnected, which really puts a damper on this game. But anyways, I still thought it was worthwhile because you can see all I was doing this whole game, this whole time. It's been relatively boring, but I am just spamming my spells. Once I got my Spectral Wraith, I've just been spamming my spells and just staying at tip-top health and just pushing. He's a very strong split pusher, and he's a very, very strong laner. Once he hits level 9, there are very few people who can deal with him. Especially having being a ranged AP, which is kind of the real flavor of the month, I would say, in top lane. A ranged AP with infinite sustain and a very, strong escape mechanic is a very, very strong laner indeed. If he's allowed to get going, get some strong AP items, get that spell vamp, he can really turn into a monster. Like I said, very strong team fighting. You see, throwing down my Hemoplague. There's my W. Gonna flash in, make sure I get one more EQ. And finish off that kill right there. You can see all of the farming that I've been doing this whole game. Let's just check. I'm at 100. Look at this right here, guys. 201, 3-1-1 compared to 0-2-2, 123. I am way ahead of this Nidalee. I have absolutely outplayed her. And I'm just going to split push. My team is very much losing this bottom lane, but I'm just going to try to do what I can to split push on my end. Diana just took our mid tower. I'm going to go ahead and try to take this inhibitor turret. But very, very much dominated this lane. And it wasn't so much, Nidalee is not a good choice against Vlad because she can't burst me down, for number one. And she also wants to, she's relatively weak until she hits level 6. And that is also when Vlad is weakest. So, basically, our weaknesses match up. So I'm going to pretty much have a free time getting to that level 7 or 9, like I said. I'm going to have a relatively easy time getting to that point. Whereas, you really, to counter Vlad, you want to have a champion who can really burst him down. That's very, very key to his gameplay. But I've gotten to a point where I'm relatively strong. And let's talk a little bit about itemization. Like I said, you really want to get that early ability power, or that really early spell vamp item. In that's your Hextech, the Gunblade. Or not the Gunblade, the Revolver. I like to turn that into Spirit of the Spectral Wraith, and some would argue that it's inefficient on Vlad just because it also gives you the mana regen, and he doesn't have any mana. It also has the jungling passives. But if you do the math, and if you just look flat at the AP, at the ability power, at the CDR, at the spell vamp, those 3 stats are so crucial on Vlad. He wants ability power. You want CDR. Getting 40% CDR is really, really crucial on Vlad. And you want Spell Vamp. Those are some of the most crucial stats because the AP does damage and also turns into health. The CDR is so nice because, like I said, he's very much a sustained damage mage. So having CDR is very, very nice. Getting CDR capped is really, really crucial on Vlad. So much so that I tend to spec 9-0-21 masteries, getting all the CDR I possibly can from masteries. But I think this is the team fight I wanted to highlight. So we can talk about my isolation a little bit more in a second. But see right here, we actually kind of get stuck in a bad place. I actually get pulled in by that Orion ultimate. But a nice Lulu right there. And then watch this right here. Boom, there's the Hemoplague. I believe on to 3 members. I'm throwing out constant EQ. Constant EQ. I get kicked back. I'm going to Zonia's. So I'm totally invulnerable. And then immediately I'm going to EQ and then pool. And try to stay on top of these guys and throw out some more EQs. And boom. We managed to go to ace them, and that was a 4v5. If you look, you can see that Master Yi is DC'd. And so basically, we went 5 for 2 and managed to wipe out. So let's watch that team fight one more time because this was pretty crucial. So I kind of got sucked in by this Orion ulti. A bit of a bad initiation on our part. We're kind of in trouble. But Orion only gets 1. Good job by Lulu to help me escape. Good ult right there, but I'm going to throw the ulti on 3 key targets and just EQing this whole front line. The Trist is doing a ton of damage. I kick back. I Zonia's just in time. I'm going to hit my EQ and then W. Try to stay safe. I'm going to focus down Ori and get her, and then watch as Trist picks up the triple kill. I picked up 2 others on my own. And very, very good stuff there. So that's Vlad. Like I said, very strong team fighter. But yeah, that's pretty much his kit. Other core items, I think that Spirit Visage, especially the new one, since they tweaked it, is extremely strong on Vladimir. Health is really nice. again, with his passive, that health turns into ability power. Let's just go ahead and take a look at what my passive is doing. It's giving me 10 AP and almost 400 health, so very, very nice, and I believe that might even change once I get myself respawned here. But the magic resistance is really nice because the magic resistance and armor scale multiplicatively with your health. So the more health you have, the more effective HP you have when you get health, armor, and magic resist. So they all kind of work together really nicely, is kind of my point. But the 20% CDR is massive. And then when you combine that with the unique passive, the self-healing and spell vamp increased by 20%. That is also massive. So again, this item is just incredibly cost efficient on Vlad. Your Qs are just going to be healing yourself for an absolutely absurd amount. Very, very nice. This item is just very perfect on Vlad. The CDR is nice. You can see if you look, I'm actually at 38% CDR. Perfect. I don't need any more cooldown reduction. Getting 10% from the Spirit of the Spectral Wraith, getting another 20% from this Spirit Visage, that's 30, then getting 18 from my Masteries, 9 from the, or 4% from the Offense Tree, and then I believe another, however much percent is left, I believe 8% maybe from the Utility Tree. Like I said, I spec 9, 0, 21. You want to make sure you don't take any of the mana masteries in the utility tree, but all the movement ones, all the spell vamp ones, all the CDR ones, and even like pickpocket. There's a lot of really good stuff in there for Vlad. But gets me at max CDR. So if you look, my Q is on a 2.48 second cooldown. My E is on a 2.7. Every 2.5 seconds, I'm throwing out EQ. 2.5 seconds EQ. I mean, that is absurdly strong. The Q is on a, just doing a lot of damage. It's just a tremendous amount of consistent sustained damage. But you can see I actually took a bit of a gamble here and tried to base race, hoping that my 3 teammates could fend off these guys, but it actually looks like with those deaths there that things are going poorly. So with Master Yi DCing, we ended up actually, we're going to pretty much lose this game. There's no way we can win it. But anyways, that's Vladimir. He's the ultimate champion in sustain in terms of lane sustain. He's absolutely unmatched. And if you can make it through those early levels, he's very weak early on, but if you can make it through those early levels and buy some big ticket AP items, he can be quite strong and a really fun champion to play. And I'm sure he's got to be a really obnoxious champion to play against. But overall, pretty happy with this game. I had a lot of fun with Vlad, and I hope you guys enjoyed him too. Tried to cover his finer points, but you wanted to get the CDR, you want to get a lot of AP. You want to get some spell vamp, and you just turn into a really, really strong carry late game. Like I said, items become almost doubly cost efficient on him. When you pick up something like a Zhonya's, not only are you getting the in-target ability, not only are you getting the armor, but you're getting ability power, which also gets turned into health from his passive. Almost 400 health right here, and I've only got one big ticket AP item. Definitely going for a death cap next. A void staff would be really, really nice. Sork shoes. Fantastic. You just any sort of, even a Deathfire Grasp would not be a bad choice. DFG, he could definitely make use of that. You throw on the active, you get off some an EQ or two. But overall, that is Vladimir. He is a pretty fun champion to play. If you're looking for that top laner who has got a ton of sustain, you want to just stay in lane, farm it out until late game, I would say Vladimir is a very, very good choice for you. He's interesting because he has, a relatively weak, very early laning phase, but he then tends to have an extremely strong mid game, where he gets that spell vamp and he just is an immovable rock in lane, and he can just harass and poke. If he can be prevented from getting all in, he can stay in lane forever. And then he transitioned into this late game character who's built a ton of ability power and thus has become tanky with his passive. And then his ultimate is extremely useful in team fights. That 12% increased damage for 5 seconds is so good with the rest of your team. And then the constant EQs and the W to keep yourself safe just kind of creates a really nice package. And I really enjoy him. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Why Buy on Vlad. He's a champion that I really kind of underestimated and hadn't really given much thought to, but am very much enjoying. And I think he will see consistent play in my top lane champion pool. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I gotta go for quits here. Wow, who goes for quits? What does that even mean? I gotta cut it off here. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.